Hello everybody, this is Rosemary. Welcome you all here to my first ever demonstration, let alone a video demonstration for the lower northern Gawler branch of the Cake Decorators Association of South Australia. So tonight I would like to demonstrate for you this Dahlia flower. So if you notice, it's got a nice curve going around it, a nice circle going all the way around. So hopefully this is what I'll be showing you tonight. I apologise if this doesn't turn out as good as you expect, but it's the first time. Thank you. So to get things started, we have a 3mm polystyrene ball. This is going to be the centre of our flower, and a 18 gauge wire. This is actually a 20 because I didn't have 18 gauge wire. I learned to do this through Pretty Witty Cakes. There's a few ways you can do your middle. This is just one way that I do it. Put the wire through the middle of your polystyrene, about halfway, fold it back and twist it really tight down on itself to keep it stable so it's not going to be rolling around, and just keep twisting it all the way down to the end. You can also make your centres out of gum paste. However, that would be an awfully heavy centre. Your flower, as you could see with my practice piece that I've showed you before, this one here, it's a rather big flower, so it would be very heavy if that centre inside here was made out of gum paste. The other thing you could do is make the centre out of Rice Krispies. So all I'm doing at the moment is just going to tighten that centre up with 2 pliers because I don't want it to move around. Oops, sorry. Just want to make that a little bit tighter. So what you're left with is this really tight, sturdy, it won't come apart. You can just put your wire straight into the polystyrene, just push it straight in and hot glue it in, but sometimes because of the weight of the flower it can come out. Not that you need to have wire. This particular flower, that Dahlia, doesn't actually need to have wire. It can just sit on the side of a cake because it's a nice big cake, it's a nice big flower. So after that, we just sit that aside and we roll out some paste, some gum paste. I'm going to do mine in a lilac colour, just a light lilac colour. It's a Wilton colour, Wilton gel that I've mixed into the paste. My flower paste is from Satin Ice. I have tried making, the writing's backwards, sorry, gum paste. I have tried making my own, but it's always too soft for making flowers, so I'm quite happy buying Satin Ice. So the other things you're going to need tonight, very simple tools, you don't need a lot. We're using a set of rose cutters, rose petal cutters. First size is a 2.5 centimetre up to a 5, sorry, I was going to do a 6 but it was too big. So we have 2.5, a 3, a 3.5, a 4 and a 5 centimetres. And the other cutter that we're going to be using is actually a pull type of cutter from Hear Me. They come in a set of 3. And I am using the largest of that set. There is a bigger one that I have bought separately for bigger daisies, bigger gerberas. So there's quite a few different sizes. You don't have to use these. You can actually have just a daisy cutter, ordinary cutter, without it being a plunger. So this one is, I think it's 6 centimeters across. Yes, 6 centimeters. No, I lie. 7 centimeters across, that particular size that I'm using now. So let's get started. So with the first part of our dahlia, we need to roll out 2 daisy cutters, 2 petals from this. We don't want it to be too thin. These two, this particular row needs to be a little bit thicker than the rest of the petals that are going to go on. So I'm not sure if you can see how thick that is. Just put a bit of corn flour and cut out our petal. Just going to move my flour here. Don't push your plunger down, we just want to cut out the daisy. Oh, it's awfully soft, sorry. It's a bit soft. And eject it out of there now. It's got a couple of petals sticking here. This weather is certainly not the best weather to be doing flowers. It's raining here. And again, just put a little bit more corn flour. And we'll cut out the second one. Which is very sticky. I might have to fix that later. Whoops. So anyway, with the first round of petals, if you grab your balling tool, we need to make this long enough to go around and up to the top of your ball. So I don't want to thin in the middle here. I want to just hold on to each petal and just stretch them softly out. Just stretching them slowly and just going around stretching each petal as I go. Making sure that I don't cut or pull the petals off the center. With this video, obviously it's going to be on pause a lot of the times because you don't want to be watching me doing all this same fiddly stuff throughout the demonstration. However, the time it took me to complete my other flowers, approximately 3 hours. This one is just a bit too long, I stretched that a bit. Okay, nearly there. I just want to measure to make sure it's going to fit. I don't want to put it all together yet. Just want to see if my petals are actually long enough to go down. They just need to be a little bit longer. Just a little bit more. And you can stretch them again when they're on your centre, if they're not quite long enough. That's why we make these petals a little thicker than normal, because we do need to stretch them just that little bit more than we would anything else. So now, just a little bit of Tylose glue. And center your petal in the middle there and push through, and then turn it upside down. And as I said, we're a bit sticky. Sorry, I'm out of view. Sorry. I'm not used to this. Come on, Dahlia, come. Beautiful. So push that out. Just let your petals fall where they want to fall. Don't force them to go where you want them. You want them to be more of a natural fall. And then we can just turn them up, cup them in your hand, and then just slowly push them to the middle, making sure they're secure. So this one you might need to go around and just make sure they do have a bit of glue underneath them, because we do need them all to be sticking. You don't want them flopping in the wind. Pushing them to the center, making sure that that polystyrene ball is all completely covered at the top. And securing underneath, making sure that it's well secure and it's not going to fall off. So that's the first. I hope you can see okay. So the next row is exactly the same, with a little bit of, we're going to just this time curl up the ends of the petals a bit. I just need to straighten these up. These have all just gone off kilt here. Beauty of having a video at our meetings is you can turn it off whenever you get sick of it and turn it back on later, or cut out the bits that you don't want to watch. Okay. Again, holding in the middle and stretching out those petals. Just being careful not to break them. It's a fairly easy flower to make, considering the amount of time it takes to make it. It's fairly simplistic, and it's very minimalistic in the amount of tools that you need. So I'm pretty sure that this will be long enough. So I'm not going to measure, but what I want to do now is pull those petals back so they've got a little bit of a curl in them. Not a lot, just a bit on the end. And again, just add a little bit of Tylose glue in the center. I don't want to put glue all the way up to the tips. I just want it just under halfway up those petals. Whoops. Just so as they're looking a little bit more natural, as if they're just starting to open up. And we do the same again, centering it in the middle, poking it through. Come on, baby. And then turning it upside down. Whoops, I forget about the camera, sorry. And again, just securing it around the bottom, making sure that it's not going to come apart on you. Then cupping it in your hand and just carefully letting the petals fall where they want to fall, and just giving them a little bit of a twist and a tweak so they look more realistic. You can put a little bit more glue, just because you don't want them completely falling off. You want just the very tip of them. Sorry, can you see? It's hard when no one talks back at you or asks you questions. For our next one, we'll have to work out how we can sort of live stream it so you guys can ask questions as we're doing our demonstration at our next meeting. We need someone that's really clever to sort that out. Hey, Denise. So what am I doing with, I've just got my tablet set up on a tripod on my dining room table. I was thinking about how I was going to zoom in and out, but it pretty much zooms in and out by itself. So it wasn't too hard to set up. It's just a matter of getting it to you guys and making sure that you can see what I'm up to. Okay, so that's it for that row. So the petals are just sort of starting to open up a bit. Okay. Now for the next bit, we're going to do 2 rows, another 2 rows in this lilac-y colour, and then we'll gradually tone it down with some white until we end up with the last row being completely white. So it's a variegated dahlia. As I said, this demonstration I saw on Pretty Witty, Cake Academy. There's a lot of people out and about at the moment that are doing free demonstrations because of the lockdown. So when people have got time, jump on and have a look. She's got a lot of free tutorials. Now this row, got a bit of a mark in there, sorry, get rid of that. So these rows will be using the rose petal cutters, and they need to be as thin as you can get them without being too thin. Another good website or YouTube now, he's a young fellow from the Philippines I've been following. His name's called Mark, and he's just started Easter Monday with this YouTube channel. He is fantastic with his demonstrations, just does really good work. So if you'd like to watch him, pull him up on YouTube, he's just really, really good. And very simplistic with his tools. He doesn't have all the different cutters. He does teach in the Philippines, and he pretty much only uses rose cutters to do most of his flowers with, and he shows you how to work on that. So as you can see, this is quite a bit thinner than what the last petals were. And this one here is a rose cutter. The size is 2.5 centimeters from the tip to the top. And for this size flower we need approximately 15 to 18 petals. So I'm just going to cut 2 out for now, and then I will show you how to put them together. So just give it a rub on your flower sponge there, and it takes off all the furry bits. Oops, that's not going to fit in there. And then just wipe around the edge. So as I said, I'm only going to be doing 2 for you at the moment. Put some plastic on your work. So the next thing we do, turn our petals over, and we're going to soften the edges. We're not going to frill them, we're just softening. I hope you can see. So just put your ball tool on half on and half off, and we're just going to thin those petals down. Yes, that frills up, but just straighten them out a bit. As I said, you're going to need approximately 15 to 18 for this particular size that I'm working on. So now you turn them back over the other way, and we're going to make like a tubular shape. So it's just a matter of putting that little part in there and wrapping it around like a waistcoat. Make it fairly tight. And all we're going to do is, when you've got your shape, I tend to use my the back end of my paintbrush to help support it up. Put a little bit of glue on that left edge, and then close that other side over. Don't worry about what the bottom part looks like. It's the top part that we're chasing that's going to look like a V in the front, like a vest coming over. And just poke it to make it, can you see that? Beautiful. And you can squash the bottom, and we'll just do one more. Again, fold it over, work out that you've got the right shape, remembering that this one can be a bit smaller. When you've got your shape, whoops, just put some Tylose glue on the left hand side, and then close it over. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is to apply it to our flower that we've started. It doesn't really matter how you put it on at this point in this particular row, you just apply it. So I just put a little bit of glue on any of the petals, and it's not like your average rose where you go under, over, under, over. We're not doing any of that. So the side where the seam is with the V goes onto your flower. You only want it to be a little bit higher than, just a little bit higher than the tops of your other petals. Then go on to the next one. I'll just show you this one, and then I'm going to pause the video, and then I will continue with that round and then come back to you. So the side that's got the seam in it goes onto your flower, matching the height. Now they need to be sitting close together, they need to be touching. Okay, so you can see it's a bit messy, you can't see a lot at this point. And you just sort of curve them in, keeping their little hollow shape. So I'm going to pause for a minute, I'll go and do the rest of that round and I'll come back. Welcome back. Sorry, there's been a bit of a glitch with the system, and unfortunately when I went back to continue my videoing after putting you on pause, it wouldn't let me, it just kept playing up. So there might be a few different videos. I'm not sure how that happened or why. I thought I was recording when I was doing this. So when I've come back, I just wanted to go over how to make the tubulars, but I'm sure you all know how to make them. The important thing with this round is that you put the tubes on top of the bottom ones. This is really important. They don't sit in the join, they sit on top, directly on top. So it's not under, over, it's directly on top. So I'll just do a couple of these and show you. They've got to sit right up close. The whole idea with this is the petals touch, they have to touch. Use a fair bit of glue because there's a lot of weight with these, and when you get to the final round with all of the weight, it'll pull off the first lot. Now we're just trying to keep the same height as the previous row. I'll just do a couple of those, trying to remember to keep them touching and also keeping their shape. I tend to put a little bit of glue up the side of the previous petal just to encourage it to stick a little bit better. And remember to push it down at the base to make sure that it is really, really connected. See how it's keeping its circular shape? Now I don't want to be sitting here going through all of this, you getting bored. So once again, I will try and put you on pause and see if I can come back again. But before I go, I just wanted to give you some information about the young gentleman I said from the Philippines who does really fantastic work. His name is Mark, M-A-R-C, and his site or the YouTube station is Mark Kevin, K-E-V-I-N, Mark Kevin Style. He's really, really good. He's a young fella. He gets a bit obsessed with his hair. In front of the camera before he starts, he makes sure his hair's all fixed and Yeah, so he's just a lovely young fella, but he does really beautiful work, realistic flowers, very simple. So worth having a look. All right, so I'm not going to bore you anymore with doing the same old, same old. I will try and put you on pause and come back soon. Welcome back. I've just gone on to the next round of petals, which is a number 3.5 cutter, and I've cut out 16 more petals. I've gone ahead and added them, but I've saved one to just show you again. So if you look at them, you can see that they're all lining up with the previous row behind, and we need to be able to have that row just falling over. And if you look at the back, you can see that it's like an L shape, or number 7. It's definitely got an indentation, which is what we need to get that curve happening over the top. So we're coming along really nicely. So what I'll do is just hang this upside down, because these are heavy and they're going to tend to fall. So I'm just going to bend the wire and put it on my rack until I get this last petal, just to show you how we made that again. So we're just thinning out the edges. We're not trying to give it any frill. It's just a matter of thinning it out and then turning it over and forming that cone, rolling that side over and that side over, keeping that nice V in the front, and then just popping some Tylose glue on the left. Whoops, it's stuck to my stick. So roll it back over there. You only need a little bit of glue to join it. Just get its shape back. And with this round, what I've been doing is just folding back that little bit of a petal there, just a smidge, not a lot, just a little bit, and then folding down the back. And with all my other petals that I've already put on there, I actually had it sitting over the edge of my board to sort of harden up as I was making all the others, and just pushing that down to give it a little bit of a cup. So for the next 2 rows that we'll be doing that with all of them. So let's just put this one on. I'll just put it on the side till I get my petals, my flower. Now it's getting, this is getting a lot of weight on it, so it is very important to keep it upside down when you're putting it down for the former. So again, with this row I worked upside down, just popping a little bit of glue in between and up the sides of these other petals to make sure it's going to stick. On the base petal underneath, you put a little bit more glue because you don't want them to fall off. Just a bit on the edges. And then you reposition. This is a bit big. Yeah, I might just have to tweak him in there a little bit. And then cupping him around my hand, using the back of my brush, just tweaking it a little bit to get it in there. And then making sure all my petals are touching, and then just pushing that, just folding it back a little bit. Beautiful. It's a little bit big, that one. Just try and open up that petal next to it, get that curve back in there. That's better. So they're not actually squashing each other, they're sitting beside each other. Just pinch them together a little bit. That's better. And then come underneath and reshape. So that's what we've got so far. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is hang him up again to dry. So the next row, again cutting out 16 petals, it's a size 4. So this one's a size 4. And what I'm doing is putting half of my paste that's left over, I'm going to put half of this again is going to be white. So it's each row I'm doing now is getting lighter and lighter. The other thing is, making sure that you just wipe down your cutters as you've used each one and putting them aside out of the way so you're not going to be getting confused, just keeping the ones that you need in front of you. So I've got 2 more rows to go and then we're just about done other than colouring. So we'll see you soon. Okay, so this is the 4th row. I've done all the other petals and now I'm just going to do the last one, stretching out the paste, just stretching it out, thinning it, the same as we've done for all of the other petals. The only difference is this time I'm just stretching it a little bit longer down the bottom, just to make it a bit longer. And that's pretty much it. We're going to turn it over. Whoops, sorry. Flip, flip, flop. And we're going to roll it up. Put some Tylo's glue in there. I've made it a bit smaller than the others because there's not much of a gap there that's left. I put all the other petals on and just roll back a little bit, give those petals a bit of shape. And hang it over the end just to give it a bit of shape on the end. Now, oops, as you can see, I've put all the other petals on there. You can see that it has got that roundedness about it, and it is definitely round in this way. This is what's going to give it that really nice look with the dahlias. So I'm just going to put on this last petal of this round. I'm going to try and squeeze it in here. That's why I made it a bit smaller, because it isn't much of a space left there. So I'm just going to turn it up the right way and just poke him in there. And just beautifully place him around. Right, so that row's done. So all I want to do is just make sure that the back is all pushed down and secure. And again, you just make sure that it's hanging upside down to keep the petals hanging in the right position, because they are heavy and they'll flop back the opposite way. So now what I've done is the last row, and this was a number 5 centimetres from here to here. And again, it's exactly the same as what we've been doing, no difference. So I've had this sitting here for over an hour, just trying to dry it a little bit. So as we could put this last layer on. So it's the same as what we've been doing. Just some glue. And because these petals are quite a bit bigger, you're probably not going to use all of the petals that we've cut out. So again, this row I've made a little bit lighter again. See how that fits into that space just nicely with that curved. And because it is heavy, we do have to keep it upside down and just work our way around. Just pulling and reshaping just that last little bit there. Give it a bit of movement, making sure that the petals do meet. And use your end of your toothbrush if needed to help coax it into position. Okay. So what I'll do is just keep going, and then I'll get back to you as soon as that's all done. Okay, welcome back again. I had just put on all of the last of those big petals and just played a little bit with the petals to reshape them a bit. And now we're going to put a back on it just to support the petals. Looks pretty good. Except for that one, he's sticking out a bit. Okay, so because this is just going to sit on the edge of a cake, it doesn't need to have a great deal of anything on the back. All I'm doing is just putting on a bit of gum paste that I've been using to put on the back here, just to secure the petals, because even when it's dry they could still possibly fall off if you are too rough with them. So all I'm doing is got a piece of leftover gum paste, nothing fantastic because you're not going to see it. I'm just smoothing it down, putting it out so it's not quite as too thick. And I might just put a little bit on the back of that as well. Just making sure that it is going to stick and support that heavy flower. The petals are just, all those rows is heavy. At this point you could take off the wire if you were just going to sit it on a cake, or if you plan to actually use it and want a bit more support when you're transporting a cake, you can put a posy pick into your cake or a straw or something and then pop this in that way. But I'm not cutting it off today, I'm just going to leave it on. And just work around, smoothing down that backing, making sure it attaches to each and every one of those petals to give it a bit more support. I'm just using the back of the paintbrush just to smooth it down a bit so it's not so bulky. securing it to that wire. And then just have another final look at it. Make sure you're happy with what you're looking at. And then just leave it for a good couple of hours to dry before you actually paint it. Colour it up is the right terminology, sorry. So just tweak a few of the petals, make sure they're all sort of falling down nice. And when you're happy with that, you're done. Do that. And then put it back to dry. What you can do now is, because all of the middle is fairly stable, I would just leave it on your petal pad and let it dry for a couple of hours from there, and then come back and we can put some colour on it. So I hope you've enjoyed that so far. Thank you.